good evening to you and a warm welcome if you're just joining. We start with this. Eskom has reported an improved loss before tax of 25.5 billion rand. An after-tax loss of a record 55 billion rand that has also been recorded. Let's discuss the financial results now, and we talk to the Eskom board chairperson, Mteto Nyati, who joins us via the virtual platform. Dr. Nyati, good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time. Let's start with the 9 months of no load shedding. I think that's quite important to begin with. What would you attribute this to? And as some have been questioning, at what cost to Eskom, though?
Thank you so much, Toli, for having us on your show. Certainly, we as Eskom we are very proud of where we are. 9 months of no load shedding. It is not a surprise to us. The performance is linked directly to the work that started last year in March 2023, where we did an extensive amount of planned maintenance. And you may have noticed, if you look at our financials of last year, we spent almost 34 billion rand on OCGT in the diesel spend. And that was to minimize the impact of load shedding at the back of the planned maintenance that we were doing at the time. We always said then last year that we're going to have short-term pain and long-term gain. We are starting to see that gain right now, where over 9 months, we have not had load shedding. We do not expect to have load shedding going forward. However, we still have about 2,500 megawatts still to come into the grid, where we are currently doing some work, like in Kusile, Unit 6, and Medupi Unit 4, and Kubek Unit 2. Once those come in as an additional 2,500 megawatts, we will safely come back to the nation and say that load shedding is something that is behind us.
Yeah.
But until we do that before the end of, we expect to do that by March. We remain saying that it is still a possibility, but it's highly unlikely to have load shedding.
The Minister of Electricity spoke at the results presentation about a relationship between operational and financial performance. Are you starting to see the fruits of this? How does that debt book look like?
Yes, that's a good point, Toli. There is a direct correlation between the operational performance and the numbers and the finance. For example, because we did not have any load shedding in this current financial year, because of that, we have seen year to date, we've seen a growth in our revenue, top line. This is something that has not happened in the past. And now we're seeing a year-on-year growth because we're not the opportunity cost of not providing a product that is demanded by the customers. We no longer have that cost. We're able to provide a need, and we're able to bill for that need. So that's the first thing. The second thing, because the whole operations are much more reliable, we are using less OCGTs, meaning diesel. So last year we spent, as I indicated, 34 billion rand on diesel. This year we've made already currently a saving of about 18 billion rand compared to last year. All of that comes to the bottom line. And last but not least, the other element that is helping is the fact that all of us taxpayers have come in and helped with the debt relief in terms of Eskom, and that is helping us reduce our debt. As a result, our tax charge is coming down. a combination of those three things are making us to be in a position to say at this point that we expect to be profitable at the end of this current financial year, something that has not happened over the last 7 years. So we are particularly pleased with where we are.
Very encouraging indeed. However, there is always something that is going to sort of draw you back. The audited financial statements that were delayed. The minister spoke at length about this, and in fact going as far as to say members of parliament should have been given these much earlier in order for them to interrogate really whether there is improvement in the state of finances of Eskom. Does this undermine the credibility of the turnaround? And where are the areas of weakness, by the way, that have led to these audited statements being delayed?
The good point here, the thing that we need to underline is that we're talking about the audited financial statements, which means we had external auditors to look at the numbers to make sure that the numbers are an accurate reflection of what is happening operationally. So from that perspective, the numbers that are out that we have issued today, nobody should even be questioning those, because those numbers are accurate, and as the auditors have indicated. However, the delay itself, the fact that it took us all 8 months to announce the numbers, that is something that is unacceptable. It's something that the board has made it very clear to management that it should never happen again. We understand the reason why. For example, we're coming from a culture in Eskom where there was a lot of crime, corruption, and fraud. It is at the back of a fraud that we detected that we had to investigate and try before we come up to the public and quantify what is the extent of this thing, so that when we are communicating to the public, we are giving them an accurate view of the business. That is really one of the causes of the delay. It was linked to the online vending system of Eskom, where a number of tokens, illicit tokens, were created, and they were out there being traded. And this is something that we, as a board, together with management, are working very hard to prevent it from happening again. So that was the first thing. The second thing is linked to the unbundling of the National Transmission Company of South Africa, NTCSA. Through that unbundling, it had some effects when it comes to tax. You have mentioned a sizable number when it comes to the loss that we have announced. Most of that loss, 36.6 billion rand of that, is linked to the tax that we had to de-recognize, the deferred tax that we had to de-recognize because of the unbundling of National Transmission Company of South Africa. And that's a once-off thing. So we had to do all of those things. They are understandable, but they're not acceptable. So going forward, we are very clear. We have to make sure that we deliver the numbers at the time when they are expected. But the quality of the report itself, of the Fs, nobody should question that.
All right. I think you've already answered the question around the 2.1 million Eskom customers that have been unearthed. I think it has to do with that cybercrime issue. So let's then move to the municipal debt owed to Eskom. The minister says this is now a sovereign problem and it ceases to be an Eskom problem. Explain that to us. What does that mean exactly?
You know, what it means is that as Eskom, assuming that you had your own company were selling, and the people some of the people that you are selling to are not paying you, yes, it becomes a problem. But in this case, these customers that are not paying us, most of them, in fact, all of them, are government customers. They belong to government. These are municipalities funded by ultimately by National Treasury. So if those municipalities are unable to pay us, we look to the National Treasurer to be able to come and help and support. So this is why I think the minister is saying what he's saying. He's saying that ultimately we cannot look at this as an Eskom problem. Eskom needs to be paid. We need to be able to provide reliable electricity to the nation. And if we are unable to be paid, then we are going to be taking us back to where we do not want to go to. So we need the key stakeholders, COGTA in the picture, National Treasury in the picture, the Minister of Energy and Electricity, together with Eskom, all of us sitting down and coming up with a solution to this problem. We do not think it is something that is not doable. It just requires a will from all of the key parties to make sure that we execute. We've got an idea on how to do this. We can support the municipalities in helping them to collect some of the debt, which it may mean that we become much more involved in their affairs than they may have wanted. But if that is going to be something that helps them to also be financially stable, it's something that is going to be a win-win for all of the parties. So that's the direction that we are going to. This is something we have to be as laser focused on this as we were with load shedding, because it has got a potential to put the whole country at risk. So yeah. I support and agree with the minister, his view and how he has defined the problem.
That's quite a massive statement, Chairperson. In fact, I was hoping to go to other areas, but I think it is what we're going to end this conversation on, because this is no small element, what you have just mentioned. Number one, when you say you're going to get more involved in their issues, what will that mean? So that's question number one. Number two, the deputy, at least one of the deputy ministers of finance, has written an opinion piece at the start of this month, where he says that big municipalities, in other words, big cities, like Johannesburg, if you like, the minute they are not paying Eskom, that becomes a threat to the security of energy supply for the entire country. Are you saying that is exactly the threat here?
That is exactly what I mean. That is exactly what I mean. The good thing, Toli, is that most of the players they want to see a solution to this, and the other thing is, electricity is just one element of what the municipalities are responsible for. If we can fix that part, we can extend those solutions into other areas like water and like other services. This is just a symptom of the dysfunction of some of these municipalities.
Yeah. What do you mean when you say you're going to get more involved in their business? I'm sorry to rush you. Time is of the essence.
Yeah. So what I mean is, if you look at some of the solutions that we have put in the past, that's where we have actually become an agent on behalf of the municipality, collect on their behalf. The money comes to Eskom, and then we pay them, right? And then we take what is due to us. And also, as part of that deal, we help them to install smart meters so that we can minimize an environment where people are using electricity and are not paying for that. So we increase their collections from the consumers. We also make sure that the current account of Eskom is paid, and we also pass what is due to them, and so that they can be able to use that to provide services to the entire municipality.
Wow, that's quite massive. All right, at least I've got one last minute to exhaust with you. Finally, state capture. How big a cleanup, or should we say how deep would you say the cleanup has been, particularly in the supply chain division? You'll correct me here, but that was and has been the site of much corruption.
Yes, this is something that we've done a lot of work on. I would say we have not seen the results that much. We've done a lot of putting up systems and structures that help us to analyze, to identify, and now working with the external organizations like SIU, etc., we're starting to see a lot of people being arrested. We're seeing a lot of people going to court. You know, it's at the back of the work that we have been doing. But I think we can do even more. This is one of the areas where we have said to management, we need to improve significantly going forward. One is strengthening the internal controls. Two is to drive consequence management, both within Eskom and also some of our suppliers that are involved in this corruption.
Dr. Mteto Nyati is the Eskom board chairperson. Thank you very much for your time.